Good morning. Welcome to your program, Agenda, here on Cignal TV 1 News Channels 8 and 250. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to today's episode, November 7, 2023, and it's a Tuesday. In case some of you are wondering what's going to be the topic for the day, well, it's going to be another educational interview, I am sure. If you have wondered about steel, construction, etc., well, today is all about steel and what kind of personality, character it takes to survive decades of challenges in the steel industry. We will be speaking to a veteran, a businessman, an investor who, from his college days, his youth, and his family, believed in the future of steel and continued the fight even when all around them were falling, folding up, or selling out. And when I went to Cebu a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure about the trip. I wasn't sure if it would be an interesting trip, but I ended up writing 2 column articles. I was fascinated by the history of steel in the Philippines, the challenges of business people, as well as the technical aspect, because many of us only think of kalakal, dyaryo, bote. Little do you realize, all of your scrap metal, mga pinagputulang bakal, etc., are actually recycled here in the country. Some even exported abroad, and they are melted and turned into steel bars. But today we're going to speak to someone on the future of the steel industry. So please do join us, because I promise you, it is very informative, very educational, at mabuti yung may dinadagdag sa kaalaman. But before all of that, we'd like to thank all of you who are Cignal TV subscribers. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, because your support, your subscription is what gave us a platform here on Cignal TV. And of course, thank you to those of you who watch us via Facebook, via YouTube, especially our friends and family abroad. Thank you for staying in touch by watching the program and on the Cignal Play app. Maraming salamat din kay Sir Marco Borlongan, PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. We are connected all the time. And today, let's now go to the news, a review of the front page of the Philippine Star. Oh, before, nagmamadali, no? Nagmamadali. We have to do our daily starter. And the daily starter is, this is interesting, from author and jiu-jitsu master Renner Gracie. Every day, I have to say a lot of no's in order to get the yes I want. Be crystal clear why you want that yes. So it's a double serving of knowledge. Many of us just automatically say yes, and I know of that many people make the comment, the problem that many Filipinos have is that they grew up not learning how to say no. Children, laging tinuturuan ng mga parents, oh, you make mano, you kiss tita, you kiss tito, etc. Or do this, do that. And they grow up just following or just accommodating. But we need to be able to say no when we don't feel like doing or doing something or saying something. So say no. But here with Rainier, he's saying essentially that he has to say no to a lot of things, opportunity for business, time out to meetings, or to go with certain people, because he is so focused on what he has to do so that he can get the yes that he wants. So there you go. Please keep that in mind. If you want to get the things that are important to you, you need to be able to say no to the many things that are less important. But even more important is you have to know and you have to be clear. Why do I want this? Why am I saying yes to this? Okay, is it a big project? Is it all about your character? Is it about commitment? Then you have to be crystal clear, okay, and know why you want that yes. Okay, let's go to the news on the front page of the Philippine Star. And eto na po, bakbakan pa rin. Congress continues, obviously. Anyway, let's read the front page. House slams Duterte. Speaker Martin Romualdez resumed sessions at the House of Representatives yesterday with an indirect swipe at former President Rodrigo Duterte and his daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte. I will stand and fight against anyone who scares us into following what they want. Wow. All of us will stand for the welfare of the country, Romualdez said in Filipino as he presided over the resumption of session. Apparently, according to some Romualdez allies, the speaker was referring to Duterte and Vice President Sara Duterte as the ones deemed by House members to be maligning the chamber. Hey, we will see about that. Okay. Anyway, at the top of the front page, 20 peso per kilo rice, not yet possible, says DA chief. Hindi pa raw pwede o mahirap pa raw mangyari yun. We all know that. Meanwhile, LTFRB chief, Chairman Teofilo Guadis is not yet off the hook despite his reinstatement. Okay, according to DOTR Secretary Jaime Bautista, the NBI has been requested to hasten the investigation of Guadis. So tuloy pa rin ang investigasyon, although pinabalik na siya sa pwesto. And Marcos, President Marcos, Maharlika Fund implementing rules and regulations have been finalized. So yan, ibig sabihin yan, i-roll out na again. Center photo of the Philippine Star, three photos. Three photos. President Marcos walks with the Navy Chief Vice Admiral Toribio, Adesi Jr., and Naval Special Operations Command Chief Commodore Dwight Stephen Dulnoan as he inspects the naval base Heraclio Alano in Sangli Point yesterday. And the lower photo, it's ours. A local fisherman released an 18-foot buoy afloat in the West Philippine Sea off the waters of Barangay San Salvador in Masinloc, Zambales yesterday to protest the continued harassment of Chinese Coast Guard against Filipino fishermen. Ayan po, pati yung mangingisda nagpro-protesta na, nagpwesto na ng boundaries. Okay. More think Philippine headed in wrong direction. According to the Okta Research Group, in a recent survey, 2 in every 10 Filipinos now believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Okay, and while a majority still thinks that the country is headed in the right direction, the latest survey conducted showed optimism among Filipinos has significantly dropped or declined. Well, anyway, as far as the direction is concerned, go read the map. That's all I can say. Kasi marami sa atin nowadays, puro na tayo comment, pero hindi tayo nagbabasa ng mapa. Last but not the least, PNP looking at 4 angles in broadcaster's sleigh. That photo that you see on our screen is a photo of one of the suspects. Okay, it is a computerized facial composite sketch of one of the suspects in the killing of Juan Humalon, the radio broadcaster that was shot and killed in his own house, in his own studio. Okay, so yun po. And I do hope that this turns out to be a successful investigation and that they find who is really behind this. Anyway, it's 8:11. Let's go for a quick break. And when we return, let's start with our conversation. It's all about steel for today here on Agenda.
With the government focus on building infrastructure to improve quality of life, the steel industry makes sure the domestic demand for construction projects are being met. The current steel demand comes from transport, housing, hotels, and commercial mall developments, among others. To support and anticipate construction growth and secure steel supply at fair prices, there must be an increase in localized and efficient production capacity. SteelAsia Manufacturing Corporation is considered the industry captain right now. The company said they are the only one responding to the demand growth with significant investments in capacity and technology. They are currently supplying over half of the country's rebar consumption. They also supply more than 80% of the country's steel bar requirements for infrastructure. How can the country further strengthen its local steel industry? Let's discuss this on today's Agenda.
Benjamin Yao is the chairman and CEO of SteelAsia Manufacturing Corporation, one of the largest rebar manufacturers in the Philippines and globally. His 55-year career in the steel industry started at a young age of 17 when he observed the ranks and functions of SteelAsia. Yao finished the Strategic Business Economics program at the University of Asia and the Pacific.
Good morning, Mr. Ben Yao. Welcome to the program Agenda.
Good morning, Cito.
Okay, thank you very much for making time for us, for our viewers, because here on Agenda, gusto namin, Sir Ben, yung learning. We like to learn, and in the short time I spent with you, while you were telling your personal story, you were telling the story of Steel Asia, and then you were telling the story of the steel industry. And in 2 days, it was almost like a masteral program on being an entrepreneur and being a captain of an industry, so to speak. So, but you actually started when you were 17?
Right. Yeah. Right after high school.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I attended the night school at that time.
Yeah.
So daytime, I was working in the factory.
What was your first job?
Well, I was so young. So procurement, errand, doing everything, the needs of the plant, buying parts, doing collections as well. Anything at that young age.
And I'm sure at the time you were thinking, puro na lang utos, puro buy this, buy that, or para kang messenger, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we were young, and my father was at that old culture. We just follow. That's the practice then. Nobody questioned.
Yes. Okay, now why were you doing night school? Because I've heard of people like you, success in business, they were doing night school because they were really poor. But you had a factory, or your family had the business. Why did you have to go to night school? Why couldn't you just go on the regular day school like everybody else?
My elder brother, he took up medicine. So obviously he cannot be helping in the business. And so I was the eldest son after my brother. So my father needed me, and so I worked for him, basically.
Okay, and you told me during one of our dinners that you sacrifice, or was it sacrifice, or you jeopardize your education in exchange for learning the business?
Today I say it this way, but at that time I just followed. I didn't know there was sacrifice.
Okay.
But also learn while working. So it's not really bad to be a working student.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now back then your father tricked you into loving the job. You told me that he would give you a special bonus, and you eventually even worked on Sundays. What is the story behind that?
Well, my salary was 80 pesos a month. And if I follow him to the office factory and stayed with him, and at the end of the day of a Sunday, he'll give me 20 pesos. So my calculation is simple. It's just one day for 1 week salary.
Wow, just to report on Sunday, you got the equivalent of 1 week salary.
That's right. So we are a creature of habits. Well, as simple as I was in the factory 365 days practically because of that.
So you were never distracted. I'm sure back in those days, you had barkada, nightlife, girls, etc. Or were you really just home work?
Maybe that's the sacrifice. A lot of this social life. Yeah.
Okay, what was the steel factory? Can you describe to us how your family got into the steel business? Did you immediately put up a steel factory, or were you traders? How did the story of Steel Asia, beginning with your father or grandfather, start?
Well, he founded the the steel business 1965. I joined in 1968. So it was an industry wherein there were so many players, but not modernized. And at that time, the tariff protection were very high. We have a 40% tariff protection during that period. So running a steel business then was so easy. No imports, so consumer suffers during that period.
So it was great for the people in business because there was protection for the steel manufacturers and for the selling of steel, because those who import steel had to pay a very high tax or tariff.
That's right. Yeah.
But in exchange, there was also a very high price on steel because the manufacturers, local manufacturers, controlled the price. So lugi, as you said, lugi yung mga contractor, builders, and consumers.
Right. Price and also quality.
Price
because, very few wanted to modernize.
Okay. No, so but okay, you would think that that is a perfect scenario for any businessman. We produce as much as we want, the way we want, and sell it for as high as we want. But how come the steel industry slowly but surely collapsed one by one?
Well, because of that protection, people were contented, the players, we. But then we're left behind by other countries. So we notice also, I notice that other countries are investing on new technologies. So I was driven at that period to copy our neighboring countries. Until today, they're still talking about the same thing. It's a catching up, a never ending.
Yeah, you told me that you shared with us that your father actually had some foreigners living with you, influencing you and your organization to what would happen 10, 20 years later.
It was a Dutch consultant, which I avail of. It was in the Manila Bulletin then, in the 1988.
Okay.
So I avail of that. I applied, and they sent over young retirees. Actually, he's just 52 years old, and he spent many years actually with us, helping me. Actually, he changed my mindset that we should really modernize and be world class. So he also then, 1988, gave me a book by Peter Drucker. So that influenced me a lot, this Dutch consultant.
What book was that?
Practice of Management.
Okay. By Peter Drucker.
Right, yes.
Okay, so you were influenced by a retiree from the Netherlands, a Dutch consultant, and but at that time it was still your father who was the boss.
Yes. His expertise was on logistics, which I applied for. But the first 2 months, because he stayed in my house, we have breakfast, lunch, dinner together. And ended up, after 2 months stint, he just focused on housekeeping and safety rather than logistics, because he saw how much behind we were, our antiquated meal. So it was focused on housekeeping and safety, and including standards for papers, for whatever.
Mhm.
It was first thing first for him.
So he brought you guys want to sell, want to produce more, want to be able to distribute, which is all logistics. And but this Dutch consultant was telling you, teka, no, you got to set up your factory properly, safety, etc., fundamentals, as you pointed out. Now, how did that affect you and your father? Because bosses don't like being told, and you especially don't like being told what to do by foreigners.
Well, he saw the big difference. After 2 months, the place became so clean. There were signages. It became clean, and
Mm-hmm.
the space opened up. So things that we never intend to use were either removed or sold. So
Mm-hmm.
space was the important thing in a plant, and cleanliness. That's it. We never thought of that. We never gave that importance. So ended up, I requested him after a few months to come back. So he came back 4 times actually.
Mm-hmm.
He
So
was the
just
he was the one also who accompanied us to foreign countries to visit modern mills.
so first you bring in an expert or bring in someone with a different view. You allow this person to point out to you what can be changed, what should be changed, and you implement those changes. And then suddenly you have a better looking environment, not just in looks, but just having a professional environment made the difference. And then you go abroad and we make comparisons or try to understand what modern mills or steel mills are all about. What did you realize when you went abroad?
Well, we're so behind. Uh, I saw mills in other countries like Thailand. They had similar old mills like ours, but uh, they have land that they are expanding. So they are changing at fast at that period, late 80s, early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
modernizing. So it's it's a it's something. I mean, Philippines population is much bigger than Thailand. The market
Yeah.
is there. So
Okay. I think we had some problem there. We will check. We'll go for a break, and we'll be right back here on Agenda.
SteelAsia has achieved several milestones throughout 2023, one of which is shipping over 36,000 metric tons of steel bars to Canada to be used for building infrastructure. SteelAsia said the recent shipment is its fifth batch of exports to Canada, bringing the total value of its exports to 1.32 billion pesos. The company has also ventured into new technology, tapping Germany's SMS Group to provide a more efficient way to increase steel production via artificial intelligence. SteelAsia Chairman and CEO Benjamin Yao said that this will mean higher green steel production for the country as their Calaca steel mill uses 100% renewable energy for steel making. Speaking of which, the Board of Investment's One Stop Action Center for Strategic Investment has awarded the Green Lane Certificate to the 19.3 billion peso steel mill project of SteelAsia. What else is in store for SteelAsia come 2024? Let's find out on today's agenda.
Okay, welcome back, Ben Yao, to the program, and let's move forward, fast forward. You've done your studies, you learned your lesson, and then you travel to different countries to get an understanding of what needs to change in your line. Now, what happened after that?
Well, we have to do it. We have to modernize. And modernization is easier said because it's a quantum leap. Our existing volume was only about 25,000 tons a month.
Okay.
But then the new modern mill is 400,000. So it's more than 10 times bigger.
Wow.
So it's a big commitment, and it's also you have to question your own capabilities, financially, technically, and also everything else, management, market. So my father, I asked for his support. He said he will not decide for me. It's up to me. But he will support me if I will do it. But he said it's going to be tough and prepare for difficulties.
Okay. Well, tough is an understatement because you invested so much money to modernize your steel plant, steel mill, and then suddenly 1997 financial crisis hit the world. And most of the steel plants just bellied up. They couldn't survive. They shut down or slowed down their operations. What was your secret, Ben Yao?
Well, we went through also difficult periods. When we wanted to modernize, I knocked on the door of Singapore government, Temasek, and they came in. They own National Steel of Singapore. So they became our partner.
Okay.
So they sent in more than 20 technical experts, including PhD, IT experts. So we leapfrog. We learned so much in that 4 or 5 years having a foreign partner. But then the 97 crisis happened. That's a different thing. We had dollar loans, and it ballooned. So the company has to go through a restructuring. And because we have a big mill, the market disappeared. What was more important was utilization of the mill. So I approached the big developers, who happens to be also the big banks, to call for them, because I wanted to keep the mill busy. And that's the only way for us to survive, because so many projects at that time, 98, just stopped. You could see the whole Makati. But then in no time, we were already at back to full capacity because of this arrangement as a tolling so-called tolling.
Yeah.
Just,
So essentially, you kept the factory running, the steel mill running. You tied up with all of the contractors, developers, big corporations to meet all of their needs. You weren't making money, or you weren't losing money, but you weren't making money either. But the plant was running, and it took you how long to recover?
well, almost 10 years.
Okay. And congratulations to you. You survived where many failed. Now, many other people would say, wow, okay, benta na lang natin. Ayoko na yan. Mamamatay ako dyan sa ganyang negosyo or, etc. Because it was, I'm sure it added a lot of white hair to your head. But why did you carry on? Why did you continue doing it? And now you're actually investing more.
Because even today, we only have a rebar business or industry.
Mhm.
We still don't have a steel industry because even our own expansion in Compostela, Cebu, we have to import everything from Vietnam. So that's how sad the situation is, and that means Filipinos, professionals like architects, engineers, even welders, all the added value went to Vietnam. We should stop that. So our expansion is going into all these products that are still not available in the Philippines, but the demand is strong.
Yeah. So what's happening is, okay, you are manufacturing round bars, and you are exporting them by the tons. You are selling them by the tons, etc. But when you decided to expand your factory, you had to import the I-beams, the H-beam, the pillars, etc. All had to be imported from Vietnam, made and designed by Filipino experts, and sold to the Filipino market. So medyo tama ka, nakakaasar nga naman yung ganon. So that's your vision, so that we stop importing all of this. Because I was surprised. I thought yung steel matting, that square things, I thought they were all locally made. I didn't realize they were imported. I thought that roofing material in the Philippines is locally made, but it's not.
Yeah, mostly imported now. We had our country then, 45 years ago, had that vision of illegal national steel.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it went bankrupt. But at that same time, in other countries like Korea, Taiwan, they have POSCO, China Steel, or even Singapore, National Steel of Singapore. They were able to help their economy because they have steel products. It's, as I said, unfortunate. So we're left orphaned, and this industry is really very tough for private sector. And that's the reason why what I mentioned a while ago, it's the Korean government, it's a Taiwanese government, it's a Singapore government, it's Chinese government, Japanese government that initially went into steel, and then eventually they went into IPO and public. So that would have been the right steps for our country.
Okay, well, apparently that didn't happen in the Philippines, and instead we have Benjamin Yao, his family, and investors doing this thing. I've seen your plant. You've got modern equipment, all from Italy, from technical experts from the Netherlands, Germany, etc. But what is the future? You have 8 plants. Some are already constructed. Some are under construction. When you said it's hard for private sector to be in the steel industry, what are the challenges? And maybe I'm hoping some of our national officials are watching, what can be done or should be done, because we all need to work together to make sure we have a steel industry if we want industrial development.
Well, it's hard. That's why I invited Singapore government to be my partner. But I'm
Okay.
very excited today because Philippine government is now supporting us fully on our expansion projects. So that's hard was before, but now moving forward, we're very excited and very optimistic that in the next 4 years we will have our own steel industry. So we don't have to import anymore from Vietnam, and our professionals don't have to be working in foreign countries. We have many engineers that are in steel companies abroad, in the Middle East, so many of them. So it's better if they enjoy more, because most of our plant managers are expats from Filipinos from Middle East.
Okay, now what about supply chain? Because I mentioned at the beginning of the program that in the Philippines, most of us think only in terms of dyaryo, bote, kalakal. And even for you and me, when we were young people, young kids, that's how we made some pocket money, sell dyaryo and sell bote. But I was surprised to discover that scrap metal in the Philippines is a big business and an essential part of your steel manufacturing.
Yeah, scrap is always an important item in any countries. And all our expansions, future expansion now in Batangas, are going to use scraps, and then to produce the I-beam, the H-beam I mentioned a while ago. So that is something from the lowest end scraps into high value. So in 2-3 years, we will have those materials available in our country.
Okay. Now you have, was I right, 8 plants or going and being built?
7 plants.
Okay.
Because once we modernize, we shut down our old mill. That's what we continue to do. We modernize, we close down the old mills.
That's interesting because you have one in Davao, you have one in Compostela town in Cebu, in Liloan, Cebu. You have one in Lemery, Batangas. You're putting up one in Quezon, where you have one in Tarlac. So that's 5. What are the other 2?
The first, the Mekawayan.
Mekawayan.
And then the one with the scrap making from in Calaca, Batangas.
Okay. Now, people would think, wow, ang dami namang factory. From what I know, in the past, people or investors just want everything in one place. But why is SteelAsia spreading their plants all over Davao, Cebu, Calaca, etc.? What is the philosophy or strategy behind that, Ben?
Well, it's to lower the cost, regionalization. How to lower cost is to avoid shipping. Domestic shipping is very expensive. So if raw materials, let's say from other countries, go straight to Davao and to Cebu, that's a big savings for our customers. Basically, regionalization is, and near the market, that's also very important.
Yeah, because I noticed that just this weekend we were following 2 trucks that were loaded with iron billets. Yung raw material, those square, big, long bars of metal, steel, and the truck would only take something like 20 or 30 pieces and it was crawling on the highway. And sabi ko, grabe, I mean, how many trucks do you need to unload from a boat? What are the logistics behind that? How does that go, Ben?
Well, our expansions will address that. That's utilizing scraps, as you mentioned a while ago, and then to produce the finished product and avoid importing. That will eliminate the importation of those billets. It becomes integrated. It's a full cycle. Basically. So we're doing that, and this will be done in the next 3-4 years.
Okay. And what does the future look as far as SteelAsia is concerned? Because you're putting up 8 factories, but that takes a lot of capital. That takes a lot of manpower, etc. What is the approach? What is the strategy? And where is all that money going to come from?
The support, as I mentioned, coming from the government is very significant.
Okay.
We saw what happened to Korea, to Japan, to Taiwan because of their steel industry, and also to Vietnam. Vietnam is so far ahead of us. They have all the steel products available, and that's the reason why our expansion practically was applied by Vietnam in a Lego way. It's Lego engineered. So without the materials, we cannot add value. That deprives our creative Filipinos from adding value in our own country.
Okay. So in the you were talking about when we had a meeting, you mentioned a point where when a country reaches this point, the industrialization takes off.
Yeah, that's the inflection point. We're just copying other countries at certain point, like Malaysia, Vietnam. So we're at that point right now, actually before the COVID. So COVID may have derailed it, but it will be, I mean, we have the population here. The market is there. So we just don't have the steel products.
Okay, because we don't have the steel products, we haven't moved from that line. But the minute we get past it and we have the steel industry, the network of SteelAsia, we can expect a boom. Let's go for a quick break. And when we return, I'd like to talk to Ben about life lessons, management lessons, and philosophies, and what we can learn from his journey in building up all of those plans here on Agenda. Welcome back to your program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we are having a morning conversation with the chairman, CEO of SteelAsia, Mr. Benjamin Yao. Ben, welcome back.
Hello.
Okay, Ben, we have a few minutes left in the program, and before we go to the end, I'd like to ask you, looking back at all of this, what keeps you going? Some people can't understand because I'm told that you don't live a luxurious life. You still drive your old car or you walk to work, and your dream car is an Innova. Your managers have better looking cars than you do. And so if you're not, interested in the luxury that success brings, and it's not about money, what keeps you going?
Instead of car, I'm fan of building plants, especially modern plants that the country needs. Yeah, yeah, that's me. We deserve to have our own steel industry. Yeah, so here in ASEAN, I'm talking of Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. We're the only country that is still don't have a steel industry.
Mm-hmm.
I keep on repeating that, and it's just do it. We have to do it. We cannot be giving away all or depriving our own citizen.
Okay. Now, what about in expansion? You already have 7 in the works. You have existing plants, and all 7 of them. Are you still going to build more? Because there are a lot of provinces in the Philippines, and there's a lot of markets that your factories are not present.
We're building new products, not the existing rebar.
Mhm.
These are the new products that are import substitution, and that would be dollar savings as well. And it's so obvious. We need it. The infrastructure projects, the contractors, the foreign contractors, they are all complaining everything's so slow. They also have to import all these steel products. It's only the rebar they use our products, or the one we export. That's rebar. That's the low end. But basically, we still don't have a steel industry as blunt as.
Okay, so that's what keeps you up nights. That is the challenge that you want to achieve. Are you setting a deadline or a time limit that that you have made? Excuse me, in order to have a steel industry in the Philippines?
In 4 or 5 years, we will have these products, and these foreign contractors will also be very happy because the infra projects will be faster and cheaper. We have it locally. Logistics still is a transportation business. So transport cost is very high, especially today. So make it available near the market will always lower the cost.
Okay, well, hopefully with steel, you can also make the railways, and with the railways, you can move the steel. Anyway, Ben, thank you very much. I know it was a difficult interview for you. You don't give interviews. You're not used to being on TV. You're a very private person, but we just have to encourage people, and we need Filipinos to understand that there is a steel industry. Yes, it's still in the baby stages, but we are now shooting for the moon. And it's all thanks to your father, to you and your family members who have made the sacrifice. And of course, to all the members of the SteelAsia family. Thank you very much for your time, Ben, and God bless you and the work of your hands.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Beltran. Yeah.
Okay, that's Mr. Benjamin Yao, Chairman, CEO of SteelAsia. Let's now go to our closing declaration and prayer here on agenda. Gab, if you would, from the book of Nehemiah. Then he said to them, "Go your way, eat the fat and drink sweet wine, and send portions to anyone who has nothing ready. For this day is holy to our Lord, and do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." Always live and be reminded of the joy of the Lord. May the Lord bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News.